Thank you. Okay, so indeed, I will present EnterTrainMe, a single app for the whole journey. So traveling by train is not a smooth process. It has many steps. You have to buy your tickets, you have to plan the first mile, the last mile, maybe the connection, navigating in the stations. And at each junction, the passenger may experience some friction. We do believe that this is a natural consequence of the multiplicity of actors that you have behind the train travel. So you have the railway undertaker, you have the stations, you have the passengers themselves, you may have third-party mobility providers, and they all fail to share the right information at the right time. And information is really the key, we believe, to ensure that traveling by train becomes an equally seamless and personalized experience as just stepping into your car and turning the engine on. And that's where EnterTrainMe comes in. So EnterTrainMe is an MSP, multi-sided platform. So think of it as a matchmaking tool to allow an offer to meet a certain demand. And before we dive a bit into the details, let me show you quickly how it may look like. So here, let's imagine that we're following the journey of Eva, a passenger. And so the application is basically integrating with her location and the train data and telling her when she needs to get ready to step out, etc. At some point, she arrives at her connection, and as you can see here on the screen,
maybe it's like really crazy thought, but imagine like local artists. They really
there is someone else in the call. Okay, and so she's there to make her connection, and she receives a notification telling her that her train is 25 minutes late, and that she can, if she wants, redeem a discount at the local coffee house. And so basically she's clicking on that. The map updates. She receives the map, Google Map here, to navigate to the shop. And later on during her journey, she will have to plan her last mile potentially. And then she can book a cab directly. Also, we integrate that via the application. She can book the cab directly there, and it will also know if the train is late to manage to be there just on time. And basically all the things that she can do in the station and during the journey are integrated via the application. As said, it was a multi-sided platform, so obviously the other actors should be able to connect there as well. So that was just the passenger side of things, the mobile app. But behind the scene, it's a full-fledged web platform for the different actors. So let's say you are a railway company, you may be interested to connect. Here, it's a dummy example where you monitor the number of claims versus maybe this discount program to see if it has an impact, and you get access to customer insights. But it can be a shops trying to push that kind of very targeted advertising, a facility in the station, having this monitoring dashboard as well. So that's really the idea behind this multi-sided platform. So as I said already, the core value lies really in the matchmaking. So we're not trying to reinvent existing services, but rather to integrate with all of them. And as I said, to allow the demand to meet an offer. There is a demand for a centralized place with all the information for the passengers. There is a demand for maybe for more business for the shops, and they're willing to pay to put some advertisement as well. That's one revenue stream. Taxi providers, third-party mobility providers may be paying a transaction fee to have a more qualified demand directly via the application. So that's the revenue streams behind a traditional multi-sided platform. By nature, those business models, the MSP, are very scalable. Even at the architectural level, you will have an architecture with microservices that can each auto-scale to some extent. But by design, you only act as an integrator. So you're the backbone, the framework, which allows you to actually accommodate very different levels of services from one region to another, and levels of maturity as well. If one country can, or one RU can provide some real-time data in one country but not in another, you can accommodate to that, because at the core, the framework, the backbone does not change, and you can scale from one region to another, but also adding more and more services in the application by leveraging the networking effect. So that's where the strategy lies, selecting carefully which audience you onboard with which incentive at what moment in time. And all in all, we believe that this could be the trigger for a bottom-up uniformization of the European rail by incentivizing the different actors to share their data with a common protocol rather than trying to enforce it top-down. And so, yeah, that's it basically. So if you believe, as we do, that this could power the rail of the future, then yeah, help us make it real. Thank you.
Right in time. Thank you very much, EnterTrainMe. So now I will let the jury to ask a question. And yes, question.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was exciting. One very simple question from my side. What is it that EnterTrainMe can do that I cannot already do with Google Map?
The thing is, there is indeed, what we're digitizing here is indeed the location of the passenger, but also all the decision making of the passenger all along the journey. So here, I guess you're looking at it from a passenger point of view, indeed, but basically it integrates not only with Google Map. It's not just the navigation; it integrates with a lot of services. If we enable those interactions, like the discount that we were mentioning, that would be just via this application. That's one example. And so, that's basically having everything in one central place. That would be, I would say, the main incentive for a passenger, but also at a later stage, the analytics layer. Since we can collect all that information, we can, just as Amazon and those or other platforms do, we can do some advanced analytics, and you can have a more personalized journey because we have the data from the passengers. Recommendations during your journey, habits that we can learn from, and this is really made possible because we have this central platform with the data.
Thank you very much. Joseph, it's your turn.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Very interesting. My main question is, how do you make sure that any information you give to the passenger is reliable? For example, if you tell I think it was the TGV is 20 minutes delayed and you can take a coffee, and finally he isn't 20 minutes but only 10 or 15 minutes delayed and I missed my train, that's a problem for the passenger.
Yeah, indeed. Well, that was one example, of course, to explain a bit the potential, but it's really broad. So there's virtually, you can integrate anything. The reliability, we need to incentivize that as well. Here, the exact timing would be by integrating maybe real-time data from the train operator, if they can provide that. Otherwise, it would be maybe static time schedule. But so indeed, you're right. That's the key. If we share information, we need to incentivize people and maybe have a penalty if it turns out to be usually wrong, of course.
Thank you. And now question from Michael.
Yes, last question. Did you do some market research if this is not already existing somewhere? Like I heard of apps which tried to do that. Did you do some research?
Well, there are some applications that are trying to do that. Often, well, the simple answer would be to say, okay, there are multiple, so it means they didn't succeed yet. Otherwise, you would have only one. But they usually have a more narrow focus, or they are just launched by a railway company, which can also be a problem if they become big because they capture all the information, and competition, maybe problems may enter the field as well. But so, I think our vision is a bit even broader because at the European level and more complete, and with something to be gained for each of the party. It's not trying to capture all the value and win the competition. It's maybe the differentiator, I would say.
Thank you.